Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and this is my weekly reading update for February 10th, 2019. So I've had a really kind of weird reading week. I've also come again to that conclusion that happens once a year, at least for me, is where I have been overrun by library books. And I love my library, and you guys all know that. Like, I don't stop going to the library or getting things from them. But I've done it again where I've asked for so many things, and I borrowed so many things, and I have things on hold that are coming in now that I'm overwhelmed. And I am not good at reading on a timeline. I'm a procrastinator anyway, but when it comes to my reading, it just starts, like, I think it's after, college, I had to do that. You didn't have a choice, you had to read to certain dates. And I think that's probably why I don't look for doing a lot of things that have to do with timelines here on BookTube. Like, I mean, a readathon is fine every once in a while, and a read along, but I can't do too many all at once or too many too close together because it just throws off my reading. And I pretty much think I was going into a reading slump here by the end of the week. And it didn't help that I was busy at work, and I know this next week is going to be the weather being weird here in Portland. We didn't get the snow on the west side, but it's kind of icy out there, and because it's really cold temperatures for us, so it's under 30, and then I don't know what Monday's gonna be like, so because we shut down here really easily, so it's not gonna be because of snow here. It'll probably be because of ice, but yeah, I have a really funny story about ice that if I remember, maybe I'll tell you guys sometime. Anyway, so let's go into this. So I'm going to talk about the stuff that I read this week, what I did read, and what I'm in the middle of, which is a lot, and then the stuff that I think I'm going to read this next week. And then this is very, very arbitrary because I don't know what I'm going to feel like tomorrow, let alone later today. And I don't know, as I said, my reading is really messed up right now, and I think what I have this plan of what I did last year. I think I'm going to do the same thing, so I'll get to that in a minute. So the only book that I finished was a reread. I got to a couple days into the week, and I was just, I don't want to read anything that I have to think about. And at the time I was reading another book, which I'll talk about here in a second. But I, of course, returned to Nillingy Singh, and I reread Silver Silence. This is, I always forget what number it is. 17? 16? I don't know. I don't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? Oh, wow. Okay, 16. It is number 16 in the Sigh Changeling series. Again, this is a paranormal romance series about psychics, shifters, and humans all vying for power. And of course, there's romance. There's a couple in every book. And I love this series. It's one of my favorites. Of course, it's one of my favorite authors. So I always return to her when my brain goes, I don't want to deal with too much like, I don't know, just I don't know what's gonna happen in some books, so I go back to something I already know. So again, it's one of my favorite books. This matchup is hilarious. Bears. Anyway, so bear shifters are awesome. Anyway, so I'm not gonna. Anyway, but I took the time and read that this week because I just needed something to kind of slow me down, because I was waiting for a library book, which I thought I was going to dive into, but I'll get to that in a second. So, oh, that's not the book. Sorry, wrong one. So, I am still reading Mary Barton, but I've taken a little break from it. Not because of Mary Barton, not because of the story or the way it's written. Again, this is written in 1848, was it? Something close to there. So it's Victorian. It's her first novel, Elizabeth Gaskell's first novel. And I've read North and South last year, and it was my favorite book of the year. So I wanted to go back now, and I'm going to try to read them. And they're doing a read-along for Elizabeth Gaskell on Instagram called the Elizabeth Gaskell Read-Along, I think. And so this month was supposed to be Mary Barton. And I do want to read this. It's what I want to read. But I was getting to the point where with work stress and I just wasn't picking it up. Like I wanted to focus on it, but if I had the TV on or anything else going on, I couldn't focus. So I think I need to just be in a more calmer spot before I read this. So I kind of take a break from this. I'm probably gonna come back to this here at some point. But so far, it's about a family. Well, Mary Barton is the daughter, and John Barton is her father, and it's their story in Manchester. I think it's during the 1830s, and he's a weaver in a factory, and of course it's about factory workers. Again, this is like Industrial Revolution kind of stuff, and then their lives, because they are not very well off, and they're, you know, and their neighbors and other people that they know. So there was just a dramatic scene that I just read, which was great, and then I got to the next scene, and I couldn't continue, because I know she's gonna break my heart. She's so good at hurting her characters that I know it's coming, and I'm only 54 pages in. I've already cried or kind of teared up once at the beginning. So anyway, so I do want to get back to that. I still want to try to get that done by the end of February. I'm not sure I'm going to continue on with reading Elizabeth Gaskell book every month, just because I don't work that way in my brain of reading. Anyway, but I do want to at least try to finish this one. So it's still on my currently reading, like I'm going to pick it up at some point, but it just, right now it's just not going so well. So, I mean, not going so well. I'm not focusing very well. I think that's the whole key to this whole week, was no focus. So, last week I did start Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This is, again, the graphic novel on it. I like it. So, the problem with this is, again, this is a very loved story, and I have tried to read the book before. Now, usually I would read the book rather than a graphic novel interpretation of it, which I don't know. It's by Damien Duffy and John Genders. My problem is I am stopped in exactly the same spot I stopped in the book. So, again, this is about a woman, I think it's in the 70s, and she suddenly gets flinged back to slave times, and she keeps going back to this to rescue this boy. It's every time he's in trouble or something happens to him, she comes to his rescue, and it's a little bit explained about why, but not enough for me. I guess I'm having trouble so far with why it's happening, and even in a graphic novel, which you think you could just kind of push through, it's the same issue that makes me not want to pick it up. So I'm not saying it's anything bad. It's not like that. It's more of the science fiction or even the time travel stuff that I read. There's usually a good explanation of why it's happening. Now, I get the connection of why she goes back. Like, I think that's been explained well, but not, again, how it's happening or why it would happen that way. I guess I'm not clicking with it. And so I don't know if I'm going to finish this. I'm hoping I can get through. I'd really like to know what happens. This is, again, I stopped at exactly the same point I did last when I read it. So I'm not sure. So, as I said, I have that for a little bit longer for library, so we'll see. I might be able to push my way through it. I haven't made any progress in Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. Again, this is the audiobook I have on my phone. I just didn't listen to any of it this week. I just didn't have time. I am listening still to Michelle Obama, Becoming. It's in my car. Sorry, I don't have a picture of it here, but I think everybody knows what it is by now. I'm about, I would say 3/4 of the way through. I got, I think, about the last 4 or 5 discs left to listen to, but it's due at the library on Thursday. So if we don't have a lot of travel time between now and Thursday, I might be bringing the discs into the house and listening to them off my computer, probably on Tuesday or Wednesday to get it done in time. But I'm really enjoying it. Of course, now we're definitely into the Obama administration and their time at the White House. So, I'm really enjoying it overall. As I said, I think it's a really great memoir. And after reading my book on that book on the art of memoir, excuse me, I'm really seeing how well she's done on how much she reveals and what she doesn't. And I know some people have issues with certain things that she doesn't go that into detail with. But again, it was her choice and what her story, and that's what a memoir is. They tell what they, want want to put out there, what they, what they feel like they can. And I just think some of it, I'm like, no, it's fine. Anyway, so just real quick, I just want to say that I still have this on the currently reading. I'm The Wreath by Sigrid Unsaid, and I'm still unsure if I'm going to return to this right now. This again might go back onto my want to read and just put it back on the shelf and wait until I'm ready for it. I'm still not sure if I want to return to it, so I'm not positive. It's still there if I feel like I want to read it. If by next week, if I still haven't decided, I'm probably going to put it back on the shelf and just move on and just not worry about it. And then because I didn't want to read the book I'll talk about in a second, I returned to an old favorite. I picked up Pawn of Prophecy by David Eddings. This is the first book in the Belgariad, and this is a book I read when I was 14. I loved this book. I still love this book. And last night I read about 142 pages. So, I'm halfway through the book already. So this is, again, a epic fantasy, but very on a short, the books are pretty short in the first 5-book series that relate to these characters. And again, this is nostalgia for me. So, I haven't read this in about 10 years. So I get to count pages because I'm not reading it. I'm reading it pretty closely because, again, I don't remember everything. But again, it's still one of my funs. I know some people have trouble with this series. I don't know what I don't understand it because, again, I read it when I was 14 because my cousin gave it to me. And it was just, I don't know. It's a fantasy. It has Farrellsgarian, who is a young boy who he has been living with his aunt on a farm in kind of like a rural country, and then suddenly things start happening and people are looking for him and looking for some object, and they are on the hunt for this. And there's a great backstory of the world and the gods in this world and things that happened, and the characters in here are just great. They're fun to me. I don't know. I'm really enjoying the reread. I don't know if I'm gonna, read all 5 books in the first series. I probably won't get to the Malarian until later, so I'm probably gonna read the first 5 probably in the next couple months, just here and there when I need a break from what else I'm reading. But they're fun and enjoyable. But if I decide to get to the end of this book today and I want to continue, I will, because I just love this series. And again, Garian's one of my favorite characters, like, of all time on books and stuff. He's just, because of the span of the 10 books that actually he has dealt with, I like him anyway, overall. So, anyway, let's just talk about the book that I'm thinking about DNFing right now. Now, this is not in a bad way. I just think I'm not ready for this book to concentrate. And I think it's because I know next week I'm going to be, if we get to work because of the ice, I'm going to be super busy because my coworker is going to be out again. So I'll be putting in a lot of hours and I will want something easier to read. And I think that's why this is not going to happen. But I did get Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James in from my library. And I was like number 2 on the wait list. So I got it this week. And I really wanted to dive into this. But I've only read about 40 pages. And it's not that I don't like it. It's not that again, it comes down to a concentration problem with me right now. Is that too much is being said that I don't know how much of that I need to know later, and some of the stories, and it's kind of a different way of telling a fantasy story to me, which is great. I mean, I think it's gonna be interesting. I just don't think this is the right time for me to read this. And I know a lot of people are reading it right now, and I know a lot of people have been liking it. I haven't seen anything negative yet. I hope not to see that. But I think for me, this is too soon for me to read this, or it's just not the time for me to focus on this book. So I'm going to take it back to my library so other people can read it. And I think I'm going to wait till the paperback comes out, and then I'll get that and then read it then when I feel like it. Now my problem, again, I'm going to talk about library stuff at some point, but this is, I want to read this book, but my mind just will not absorb it like right now. I find myself skipping lines, which is when I know that I shouldn't be reading anything too new not something this intricate. So I think this is going to wait for me. If I decide in a couple months that I want to try it again, maybe by then I'll be able to get it from the library pretty quickly. But I still think I'm going to wait probably the year until the paperback comes out and then get that. Again, I don't buy hardbacks except for a very few authors. So I don't want to buy this book. Does that make sense? I mean, it's really a nice put together book. The pages are really thin because that's 600 pages and it's incredible. But I don't want a hardback and I don't want to hold the hardback. And I think that, again, that can be sometimes my problem with some books is their size too. I'm much more of a trade paperback, mass market paperback reader. Anyway, so I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to give it back to my library and let somebody else enjoy it right now. My brain is not ready for this. So that said, I have the Ruin of Kings is coming from Jen Lyons also, because again I had this whole, things are coming. So I'm supposed to get that. It's being shipped, now. So probably next week it'll show up at my library. So it's gonna probably be the same thing. I'll probably try the writing style out, decide if this is a book I will want to read later, and then give it back. So somebody else can read it. As much as I love epic fantasy, right now, a new series is not something I want to dive into, especially not a library book that's honking big and heavy to carry. And I know that seems kind of odd, but again, when I get busy, I don't want to deal with that. Anyway, so, I do have, 2 books that I think I'll pick up this next week. One of them is a library book that I might just turn around and buy a copy, and then so I can read it anytime I want. But I've only read a couple of pages, but I really want to read this, and that's The Bus on Tuesday by Shirley Barrett. So I don't know a whole lot about this because I've only read as I said, I read the first 4 pages, and I was like, oh, I want to read this, and I haven't picked it up because I was trying to read the other library book. So this has to do with a woman who I think had just gone through cancer. Either she's going through it or just got over cancer treatments and stuff, and she takes a job somewhere. I think she goes somewhere else. And so she as a teacher, and she goes somewhere where I guess a teacher disappeared, and then it's kind of a weird place. I hear it's kind of like a mix between, what was it? It was like Twin Peaks and something else. Whatever. As soon as they said Twin Peaks, I was there. But crap, I can't remember what I know Simon at Savidge has talked about this, and I've been wanting to read it since he talked about it a couple months ago. So I hate this cover. I really want his cover with the trees, with the little road, but it's too expensive. So I would buy this one if I bought it, but I don't know. We'll see. I might just buy it because the writing style is first person, and I dove right in, and it's kind of broken up. Like the chapters are really short. I think it'll be a really fast read. So I might be able to knock this out before it's due at the library. But because of my reading, I'm not sure if I'll do it. But this would be the one library book I would like to complete probably before I turn the rest of the books back in. And I am going to probably cancel every library book that I have on hold right now because, sorry, my cat's crying in the background. We'll see about that. Oh, this video is getting really long. Okay, so the only other thing is I might pick up this week is Kinto by Jennifer Nasubuga, or I don't know how you say that. Kahumbi. Anyway, so I had this on my list that I've been wanting to read since I saw it a couple years ago. And it's about, I think it's Kenya, or maybe it's from Kenya. Anyway, so I think it's Africa. It's about 1750 onward. And it's, well, I don't know. Other than that, I really don't know. I had this on my list for reading through the ages for Africa I think it was 1800s. So I'd already had it on the list there. And then I didn't realize that Mel, who's also doing the Reading Through the Ages, her Read Around the Book Club was doing that this month. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this month, but I might start it. But again, it was for kind of both things. So I got a copy of it just a couple days ago. So this is technically a new book. Anyway, so I might get to this as well this week. I don't know. You know, as I said, I got so much books. I just don't know what I'm gonna feel like reading. So anyway, that's it for now. I've really gone on. Sorry about that, guys. It's been a really weird reading week, and I feel like I almost went into a slump because of the library books. So I think I'm gonna have to do something about that. And about the ice story, really quick, I didn't make it up the driveway at where I work. They have a really steep driveway from the road that it's on. Then you go up a big driveway to the main quarry, because I work in a quarry, and they're I didn't make it up the hill. I got like a quarter of the way up the hill. Now I have a small Toyota Echo. Usually I've had no trouble, even with snow and ice. I've made it up that hill. It's a pretty good steep way to go, but it's I can't think of the word right now, guys. Anyway, I got partway up, I got stuck. I called my coworker. There's nowhere to attach anything to my car to pull it, to tow it easily, so I had to back down the hill. And then there had a couple little instances down at the bottom because it was all ice. Turns out the day before that it dropped that temperature, somebody at 4 o'clock was spraying the driveway. We have a water truck that washes the rock and the dirt off of the road to keep it clear for all our truck drivers that go in and out. And yeah, they were spraying it at like 4 o'clock before it was going to drop below 32 degrees. So that was not smart. It was a sheet of ice up until at least 9 or 10 in the morning. And I got there at 8 thinking I was being good. Oh well. Anyway, so that was my ice story. Anyway, it was not fun. Let me just say. At least my car didn't slide. Too bad. I mean, my tires didn't grab, clearly, but and my car was fine. It was just parked at the bottom of the hill for the rest of the morning, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's your car." Yeah, I'm the one who didn't make it. Yeah, that was great to be done when I work with a lot of guys. It was kind of funny. It was a great story. Anyway, I will hope your guys' week is going to be better weather-wise than I think mine's going to be, or we'll make it through, and hopefully I'll get into a reading stride again. We'll see what happens. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.